That's astonishing. It's absolutely world class. Drama from day one. This is the league we want to watch. Only football can make you feel like this.
They think it's all over. It is now.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of It's Pronounced Football with me, Tom, Barato and Steve. And this week we're going to be talking about match week 36 and 37, some VAR stuff again. Going to throw in some of the FA Cup, David De Gea's form we'll be speaking about, as well as the relegation battle and the Ballon d'Or. So we'll kick it off this week with match week 36 and the results, focusing pretty hard on the fact that Liverpool aren't going to make the 100 points like City did last year, and the fact that Arsenal beat them. So what do you guys think about that game?
You know, I'm very surprised the way Arsenal's been playing the past week. Since their loss to Spurs, they've been playing really well. And tactically, I think Arteta got it right.
I agree.
Liverpool doesn't care. I don't think Liverpool players really care about reaching 100 points, and they seem very sluggish, especially their back line.
Yeah, they seem to, as soon as they got that title clinched, they haven't been playing with the same attitude and spirit. It's like they're playing as if they know they've won and they just want to lift the title now.
Yeah, which is kind of, in a way, I mean, I don't really care for Liverpool, but in a way it is disappointing. It's just like, essentially, you're just giving away free points, you know, to other people in the league, which is, I mean, nobody wants to really see that, you know.
I also wonder how much they actually miss Jordan Henderson. I don't like him one bit.
They miss him.
They seem to be playing significantly better when he plays. So it's been surprising. I think all over the field, they're not as productive as they were before winning the title.
That's really surprising to hear because, like, I've barely ever heard anything positive about Jordan Henderson. Like, he always just, like, catches just so much flack, and people are just like, oh, yeah, he's just there because he's English. That's, like, probably the most positive thing I heard about Jordan Henderson ever, I think.
Well, he's just their engine. He's their workhorse. He's the one that shouts at them. Van Dijk is also a leader at the back, but Henderson is their captain, and he is Liverpool's version of N'Golo Kante. Like, he'll just run and run and run. His stats are just all about how much distance he's covered. He doesn't do an awful. He scored the odd goal, but he's like a team player.
He's a leader for sure.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I think what Liverpool's been missing is they're missing a leader on the field, and I don't think anyone has really stepped up and been that leader in his absence.
Yeah, I also don't think they care that much about it. Like you guys said, I think that they're quite happy. They've won, and it's almost like they don't need to prove anything else. Arsenal beat them pretty comfortably. I know City had a couple of chances, but, you know, I actually really like Arsenal's backup goalkeeper, Martinez. I think he's a great goalkeeper.
Yeah.
And he kept them in the game. But, yeah, just I'm surprised that – I was surprised at the scoreline. I thought, and then they went and beat Man City in the same week.
Yeah, that's wild.
I think a lot of it is to do with Dani Ceballos. He seems to have that kind of playmaker role in the middle. And then they have, in my opinion, two fantastic strikers in Lacazette and Aubameyang.
And Bukayo Saka was doing really well. I don't know if he's still starting right now, but Bukayo Saka, like, coming back from the break, he was starting over Lacazette, and he was scoring too, which I was really surprised by, that Lacazette was being benched and Saka was starting, but Saka was scoring too. So, I mean, that's always nice. Like, if you're bringing in a younger player and the younger player is scoring, then you have a more experienced player on the bench, and then you can just take off the younger player, and the more experienced player comes on and then is also scoring too. So that's, like, nice to have.
Their backline seems to be doing really well. I think that's the biggest surprise. You know, David Luiz is playing. He's not really making a lot of mistakes. And Kieran Tierney is. He's stepping up. Yeah, he's stepping up. They're playing really well. So I think, you know, it's really surprising because there's a lot of these articles going around as Liverpool not reaching that Centurion mark. Does that diminish anything that they've done so far? And I don't think it does at all. I mean, they won a Champions League last year. They just won a Premier League for the first time in 30 years. They won it in record time. Whether COVID happened or not, they were going to win it anyway. And I think COVID actually messed them up more than it helped them.
I agree.
So, yeah, I think nothing can be taken away from this Liverpool side, and they've been amazing. I think they're the best team in Europe, regardless of them being eliminated from Champions League.
Yeah, it hurts me to say this but I think them not reaching the 100-point mark, you definitely have to take COVID into consideration because I mean, look at how some teams are playing coming back from that. And then also it just shows you how tough it is in the Premier League to get 100 points. It just shows that if anything, it actually makes City look better than Liverpool looking worse. It just shows that what City did is like absolutely ridiculous. But just the fact that Liverpool didn't do it doesn't mean that they're like it tarnishes anything. It just shows like, okay, what City did is amazing. Liverpool probably maybe could have. It's one of those like, oh, we don't know because COVID happened and that just absolutely threw everything out of whack, So
another big thing about the last week of results is a couple more VAR decisions. I know we said last week that we'll probably be talking about this again in a week's time, and we are. I mean, the Tottenham v Leicester game, Son scores a goal with Harry Kane in an offside position. Was he in an offside position where the keeper couldn't see him? But then you have an Everton game, and who scored for Everton, and it was ruled off? Was it Sigurdsson in an offside position?
I think it was Sigurdsson in the offside position, I believe.
Yeah, I can't remember who scored, but I know it was against United.
So I will say this. I mean, I can kick it off. So yes, you have two situations where there's a shot, there's a deflection, and the striker from the attacking team, the striker is in an offside position. In the Man United Everton game, the striker is in a position that could be blocking the view of the keeper. In the Leicester Tottenham game, Kane is off to the side of the ball and is not blocking the view of the ball. Like the keeper can literally see the ball coming at him. Well, it's a deflection, so he's already dove to the side and then deflects. But Kane is not blocking his view of the ball. He saw it the whole way through, but there's no way he could have reacted to get it.
I disagree vehemently with that, and here's why.
Okay.
United keeper went in the Everton United game.
Yep.
That player in outside position was actually on the ground, sitting down, and a keeper was standing. The keeper had the angle to see the ball. The ball reflected off the defender, and keeper just couldn't get it. I mean, yes, the person that was in outside position lifted his legs so the ball can go through, but with that small exception, he could see the ball and he could judge the trajectory of it. In the Spurs game, Kane was actually running and he was upright standing, which I think is just blocks the view a lot more than if you're sitting down with the angle that you have. That's just, my opinion on it. And I don't know if it's offside or not. I think what we discussed last week, I wish there's just consistency, right?
Yes.
It's not fair exactly. Spurs got it. Spurs got lucky, I think, but it's not fair that one goal is ruled offside while the other one isn't. It's not fair that Son kicks out at a guy and gets a red card, but where Harry Maguire does the same thing where he's falling and lifts the boot up in the guy's junk. Oh, it was protecting the fall. It's not fair. And I'm not saying United gets all the calls, but I am insinuating it.
I think with the Tottenham goal, I think Harry Kane was offside when he shot it, but Schmeichel was already diving to his left when Kane then got in the way. So I think that's why VAR, I agree, I'd want the consistency there. And it wouldn't have surprised me if they did rule the goal out. Obviously, I was happy that they didn't, but it's frustrating for a number of reasons just because of the inconsistency. And like you said about the Son and Maguire incident a few months ago, Johnny Evans should have been sent off because he punched out at Harry Kane. That's violent conduct.
I missed that.
And VAR had a look at it, and his fist comes back and then goes back in a punch-in motion towards Harry Kane's face. And granted, when you slow it down, it looks bad. We all know that.
Mm-hmm.
But if that's not violent conduct, I don't know what is. And then he fouled Eric Lamela at the end of the game, and
He
they
probably
gave
had
the
it coming.
free kick for Leicester.
We can agree that, Kane has a punchable face, So
Lamela too.
Lamela
does. Lamela does. Yeah, I mean, it's annoying when one team does the exact same thing and gets the goal. They do another thing and it's disallowed. So I think we all agree that the consistency needs to dramatically improve.
And well, what I think is that teams that are not top 6 teams, I think they get the shaft more often than the teams that are top 6. And I think that's what gets me, is that whether it's Chelsea that gets the calls against lower teams or whether it's United, I do think it happens a lot more often where these top 6 teams that are considered in Premier League tend to get the calls their way versus mid-table to lower table teams. And I think that's the frustrating part. Because I do think that there's a certain amount of elitism and favoritism going on with certain clubs, especially and when it's certain match officials there. So I don't know what the, FA is doing about it. I don't know if they're tracking these statistical changes where they're trying not to get those referees into ref the games where they make more errors than usual. But I think it's something that needs to be looked into. Because I agree with you, Steve. It's the last thing I would want is for my team to be associated with some sort of cheating, even if and United has that history. What was that guy's? What was that bald ref's name?
Howard.
Favored United. He retired. Yeah, I mean, it's just like
Howard or something like that.
That stigma carries. Yeah, I think so. That stigma just carries on, and I think my biggest thing with United getting away with this VAR stuff is I think it carried on from even back then. And I don't know. I'm not trying to be, I'm a Chelsea fan and I hate everything United does. I do, but at the same time, I do think lower teams get shafted more often than not.
Agreed. Speaking of Chelsea as well, another Chelsea-Arsenal FA Cup final.
Yeah. See, I seriously, like, when I have the time, I'm going to look to see how many times like Chelsea and Man United have met in the FA Cup and how many times Chelsea has beat Man United, because that was just like super frustrating. Like, I didn't get to watch the whole game, but I watched enough of it just to be like just super frustrated, because it's just like, I feel like this has probably been one of the toughest positions we've been in to play in a FA Cup semifinal, because we have 2 important games to play to finish top 4. And then we also have a FA Cup semifinal against Chelsea, who's like doing really well. And it's like, okay, do you put like the full starting 11, which is like they're starting to look just absolutely dog tired, or do you just put in a mixed and then just know that, oh, we're probably going to lose and hope to win? And just like, it's almost like a lose-lose, because like with Ollie, if he puts in a full starting 11 and they win, then it's like, okay, yeah, great job. But then you have 2 games left they need to win. Then if he puts in an 11 that's like not the strongest side, and then they lose, and they're gonna say, oh, okay, well, he should have put in a starting 11. So it's just like,
but he didn't do any favors to himself or United. Like his rotation has been abysmal.
It has been
for 5 games. And when he does change it, he changes 1 or 2 players, which is, I get it. But at the same time, though, it's like I expect it. I mean, we called it last week. I said that Chelsea was going to win just because he was not going to change that lineup. And Frank Lampard has been better with rotating the lineup. He's been a lot better.
Well, that's what I was saying earlier. I mean, not on the podcast, but I was telling you, like, yo, he hasn't like switched the lineups. So, like, when is it going to switch? And like, it's going to totally like hurt us. And yeah, now we're getting like defenders are getting injured. I mean, not due to fatigue or anything like that, but defenders are getting injured. And then it's like, okay, then when you do rotate, it's like, what's going on here? Like, what is this?
You could make an argument Luke Shaw was injured because of he was being exhausted. He was exhausted, And I think, and this is my, and I mean, I'm really curious about what you guys were thinking, but this is where I can't figure Ollie out, right? I cannot figure if he's a good manager or if he's a manager that got lucky with the right formation and been riding on that wave. That's what I can't figure out. Like, I honestly can't. because he's. I mean, he got good players in. He won what 18 games, but he won 18 games with the same lineup. And I get the whole thing. Why change it if it's working, right? But at a certain point, though, I think it's a good sign. It's a sign of a good manager when you are able to change it and shake things up in order to maintain that winning mentality. And I don't think he's done that. And I'm curious what you guys think.
I think, take the FA Cup game again. I think Lampard just had Ollie in every single corner. I think managers are now figuring out how to play against Bruno Fernandes, and I think Lampard had it spot on. He just had a guy track Fernandes, and it didn't get involved in it. Wherever Fernandes went, I can't remember who was marking him, but he didn't give Fernandes a yard of space. And guess what? They didn't score. He scored that penalty, which for once was a penalty.
Yeah, I agree.
Whatever.
Man, United have been so lucky with penalty decisions over the last few weeks that I'm glad to see one finally that I'm like, okay, yeah, that's a penalty. Fair play. That's not soft. Like usually I'm like, that's a soft penalty, or that's like the one. I think it was it against Aston Villa, where Bruno Fernandes fell into the guy, stepped on his leg, and then they gave him the penalty.
All right, I'll just say something real quick. That wasn't a penalty.
Yeah, we know. Yeah. Any fan of the sport will be like, how is that a penalty? What are they watching? They're watching a different game. But for once, I think they got it right. And Fernandes is a great penalty taker. He's a great free kick taker. And, he just waited for the keeper to move and bang, left corner. But I just think Lampard had it right. I think he stuck a man on Fernandes and they couldn't move, really. And they couldn't move the ball from defense to midfield very well. And
that's been our problem, though. So, Ollie has pretty much only played, essentially, two different formations this whole season. So either 4-2-3-1 or 3-4-1, 3-4, 1-2 with wing backs. So the problem we had before Fernandes came was that we didn't have a creative midfielder. I mean, Lingard is trying to fill that role, and Lingard has been awful this season. And then I don't know why he's not playing Juan Mata. So then Fernandes comes in and he's a creative attacking midfielder, and then he started filling that role. But then there's nobody really outside of him who's able to create, who's able to just pick up the ball anywhere from a little bit just short of halfway and carry and pass and create and get the attacking players moving. Now with Pogba in there, that's really helped. The way Pogba's been playing, the way Matic has been playing, Matic has been receiving the ball very deep, and he'll carry or he'll pass. So then that took some of the load off of Fernandes. But really, though, a lot of the creativity has been starting with Fernandes, and then Rashford and Martial have been getting some stuff going on the wings, and Greenwood a little bit, Greenwood not as much, but just a lot of it has been through Fernandes. And just like you said, it's put a man on him. If you stop the main creative hub, our team just stops because nobody else really just is able to just create outside of him, which is not great.
Pogba does create. Pogba used to create, right? Pogba is he has good vision. He's able to get the ball everywhere he wants. And I think he's enjoying his playing right now. And I'm just wondering if Chelsea man marks Fernandes, why is Pogba not filling that role and taking that responsibility?
Well, he's been playing deep, though. So at least from what I've been seeing, he'll stay deep just ahead of the defensive line, and he's spraying long balls to either wing, or he might carry a few times, but he's not entering the attacking third. I mean, he will enter the attacking third, but not as much. He's mainly staying deep and passing the ball up to Rashford or Greenwood on the wings, and then it's up to them to do whatever they need to do. So he's not delivering a final ball. He's not going to the attacking third and playing a through ball. That's what Fernandes is doing. And if he's being man marked, then he's not going to have as much time to just do what he wants to do.
If I was a coach, right, and if my my creative player was being man marked, but I have another one that can fill his role, would I not, switch it up and be like, hey, why don't you guys switch it up for the next 10, 15 minutes? Let's see how it goes, right? Let's throw the defense off. Because if Fernandes pulls a Chelsea midfielder all the way into the, their defensive third, I mean, you create space in the middle.
Yeah, you do. You can't argue against that.
Yeah,
and I'm just really curious as a United fan, and I know you're in a hot streak and you have a chance to make Champions League football. And I think I'm gonna make a prediction. I'm gonna say you're gonna lose to Leicester, but I think you're gonna lose one of the next two games, and I cannot. I'm almost tempted to say you're gonna lose to West Ham, but Leicester is gonna have significantly more time off, and we'll be able to bring fresh legs in it.
Yeah.
So,
I think like what you said, the oldest trick in the book, swap the wingers, and Spurs do it all the time. More on the right, Son on the left. Halfway through the first half, they'll switch wings. And from what I've seen of Ollie, I think he is a good manager, but I don't think he's reactive enough. He doesn't see, Fernandez is being marked. Why don't we just drop him a little bit deeper, see what happens? He hasn't done that. I think Lampard had him figured out left, right, and centre. I think United have got two hard games against West Ham on Wednesday, I think, and then Leicester at the weekend. And I think Mikel Antonio is going to bring it to Harry Maguire.
Oh boy, I don't like that. He's got 5 goals in the last 2 games. I mean, granted, 4 was in one game, but still, he's going to be feeling really confident.
And Maguire has the physicality to put up with it. But the thing about Antonio is he has speed and he's a clever player. And I do worry a little bit for United because West Ham is just going to hit the long ball. Antonio will win it. And then the West Ham midfield will come charging past them. And I worry that Fernandez isn't a defensive-minded player.
He tracks back. He tracks back a lot. I mean, he's not a defender, but he will track back. Like Fernandez is all over the field. All over the field.
I do. I like Fernandez a lot, and I think he's obviously made like the biggest impact in the Premier League this year.
VAR.
The ref has made the biggest impact. But I think United will beat West Ham. I think West Ham will give him a fight.
Yeah.
But I tend to agree with Brato. I think Leicester, having just been pretty embarrassed by Spurs, I think they're going to bring it. And it's home game against United. Again, I mean, we know that United have a lot of firepower, but let's face it, Ollie's not going to rotate the squad. So
and they have so much more time off too.
Yeah, they have a full week basically. So
I mean, and Leicester brought it against Sheffield United. I think if Leicester would have played the way they play against Sheffield United, the Spurs game would be completely different. But I think that's Mourinho's masterpiece. And I think this is why I question how good of a coach or manager Ollie is, because there's no doubt that he's a good man coach, right? I think he's a very good man coach. But I think when it comes to strategy and technicality, I think he can fall short. So, and this is why I hate Mourinho, but I love Mourinho because he brings it for the big games. I mean, how far back were Spurs? Spurs were like 10th.
You called it, man. You called it last week on the pod. You said, I think Spurs will beat Leicester. And I was nervous. I was like, I don't know. I don't see that happening. But you were like, Mourinho will show up.
You beat Newcastle, you beat Leicester, and then you are a point away from actually securing Europa League.
Yeah, I mean, I was rooting for Crystal Palace today against Wolves, but Wolves just had too much for Palace. And, we've got Palace on Sunday. So if Palace play like they did today, then hopefully we'll get that win. But Wolves are looking a good side as well. So
Wait, but speaking of coaches though, so it's what, Arsenal versus Chelsea in the FA Cup final.
Yeah.
Do you think with the way Arsenal's been playing, do you think Lampard will have an answer for just Arsenal's form?
I think it depends on what happens on Sunday, if Chelsea gets the top 4 or not. I think if Chelsea gets the top 4, they're less likely to win against Arsenal. And for some reason, Arsenal has had Chelsea's number all season long. I know we won one and then we tied 10-man Arsenal, but Arsenal scares me. I think Arsenal scares me more than United scared me in FA Cup.
Wow. I think with Arsenal, if you get Kante back, if I was Lampard, and I think this is what Lampard will do, he will just put Kante on Ceballos and try and quiet down the midfield. So then Chelsea can play their game of, the one-touch, quick passing movement. I think they should play Reece James on the right, Aspilicueta on the left, and then bring James off and put Alonso on, because Alonso brings so much attacking sense halfway through the game that, players like Giroud and Abraham are going to feed off that.
I'm telling you, he should play a striker.
I agree with that.
He is a striker.
He's definitely not a defender.
And he can finish better than some strikers.
Oh yeah, he's got such a mean shot.
Clean. Like he doesn't even need to take a touch. Just like the ball's coming at him, he just strikes it sweetly, dude. Like there's not all strikers can do that.
No, I think that's why he's one of the best wing backs in the world. But I do think with the shortage of strikers Chelsea had, I am genuinely surprised that Alonso wasn't tested up top. I put him instead of Batshuayi any time of the day.
I mean, Batshuayi is not even. His name's not even mentioned on the bench, is it anymore?
Yeah.
We'll sell him to Spurs.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me.
Well, the only thing I'd be worried about Alonso is that so his plight is trade as a defender at wing back. How would his positioning be? So yeah, he can finish, but is he going to be in the right spot all the time if he's playing a striker? That'll be the main thing. Like, is he going to be able to hold up the ball? Is he going to be in the right spot in the box for crosses? That'll be the only problem. But I would still want to see it just to see what would happen.
I think he just has a knack for finishing, and I do think he will be in the right spot. I think, I don't know. He just reminds me of a poacher, and I think he'll just find a way to be in the right spot and score. But I do worry about Arsenal in that FA Cup final. I think they have an advantage. I think they're more hungry, and I think they have a lot more to prove than Chelsea does.
What are your guys' predictions for that final?
Oh boy,
I think Arsenal will win it, because if they win it, then Spurs might not make the Europa League, and that is just their luck. I do think I think the Arsenal front three are going to bring it to Chelsea.
Yeah.
So I predict 2-0 Arsenal.
I think if Chelsea makes the top four, I think it'll be 2-1 Arsenal. But I think if Chelsea miss on top four, I am certain that Chelsea will win 3-1.
3-1.
I think extra time, Arsenal wins 2-1.
Like an Aubameyang tap in or something.
Just something like. But I think it's definitely going to be a good game, like no doubt at all.
It's a London derby at the end of the day, so it's always going to be a good game.
Yeah. Arsenal's been playing well. Chelsea's been playing well. They've both been playing well. I mean, I don't think I've seen a David Luiz blunder in a while, so he's in good form. So
he likes to. I think he's still a blue at heart. So the only reason, for the record, I made a prediction that Chelsea will win is I think a lot of people's positions, a lot of people's future will be uncertain at Chelsea, and I think that's going to motivate them to give 150% of their best if they don't make the top four. Just want to clarify my prediction on it.
All right.
So there's some big games coming up this week in the Prem.
Yep.
Probably the biggest game is Liverpool-Chelsea. I don't want to keep talking about Chelsea, but Liverpool-Chelsea, and it's at Anfield. I think Chelsea can be the first team to beat Liverpool at Anfield in a while. Because as we've already spoke about, Liverpool don't care at the moment. And Chelsea are going to come into that. And Lampard is going to know that Chelsea have been unbeaten there for... Liverpool have been unbeaten at Anfield for, 2 years or something stupid like that. Lampard will want that. And he'll want to prove a point.
If they weren't at Anfield, I'd actually be legitimately worried because I'd just be worried that Klopp would be like, oh, you know what? Can we screw Man United over? Yes, I'll put in some youngsters. But they have the record. So I would say the one thing that's going well for me is that it's at Anfield. They just dropped points for the first time in Anfield in like forever. So they're not going to want that to happen again. And also, they haven't been playing well. So this is like they have to turn around at some point in time. And so I think, once again, it will be a good game, but I think Liverpool still wins this game. Maybe this is where they're like, okay, yeah, we'll finish out the season with 2 wins. Um, but of course, Chelsea's going to give it to them because there's a lot riding on it. Like they know, like if they don't win, then we're right there, and Leicester City's right there, and they could be dumped out. So, but I still think Liverpool will win this game.
So picture yourself on this field now, like Anfield on Wednesday. You're having to clap the other team out of the tunnel and give them a guard of honor.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end of the game, they're going to be lifting the cup. As a Chelsea player, I'd be thinking to myself, I'm going to do everything I can to ruin their day.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Lampard will be as well. Lampard's going to come out and be like, his old England mates, Steven Gerrard, Jamie Carragher, they'll be watching the game. And Lampard will come out knowing that his team can beat Liverpool. And to be honest, I think the players, I don't, can you imagine that as a player? Like, it's one thing respecting people, but clapping them out of the tunnel. Imagine the fire that would make in your belly to be like, right, I'll just run that bit harder today. And Mason Mount has some aggression in him. Kovacic has some aggression in him. Chelsea have got an aggressive side, and I don't think they're going to lay over lightly. So that's why I think Chelsea will win.
Oh yeah, nobody's laying over. Like I don't think this is going to be an easy game. Like it's definitely not going to be just like, oh, Liverpool blows them away 3-0. I think this is going to be like it's not going to be just like anybody. No, I don't think anybody's going to get overplayed. It's going to be who can make the least amount of mistakes. That's what it's going to come down to. Like who will make the least amount of mistakes and who can capitalize on mistakes. Because like you said, like Chelsea's going to be absolutely fired up for so many reasons. And also Liverpool will be too. Like they're not playing the way like they've been wanting to play for these last few games. And then also it's like this is where they get to receive their trophy. I mean, you don't want to receive a trophy losing. Like what kind of reception of a trophy is that? Like you want to like show like, yeah, we actually are the champions. Just want to remind you of that. Of course, it's a different motivation than just like wanting to prove something to somebody, and also fighting for top 4. That's different motivations, but still, I still think Liverpool has that motivation, but probably not as much as Chelsea. I will agree with you. Chelsea has so much like bulletin board material to win the game than Liverpool does.
It's also 2 great managers going head to head as well, so I think it'll be a really good game.
I agree with you. I think Chelsea always brings it to Liverpool. And I can't remember a game in the last 3 years where these 2 teams met and it wasn't exciting. Even 2015 when Chelsea sucked, we still managed to actually play really well against Liverpool and I think get a draw or something like that. So I think it'll be I think Lampard knows that if he actually wins this game, we're in. Like we're basically in the Champions League. So I think he'll bring the big guns. I do think it's gonna end anticlimactic and it's gonna end in a draw. That's what I think. I see it being as a draw, and just because both sides are gonna bring in, and I think the big factor is how Liverpool is not the same team without Henderson, and someone is gonna have to fill in that role as a leader. And Klopp is amazing, and he's had a whole week to figure it out. And I'm sure he'll make quite a few changes, and he'll rip some people apart. But that's the other thing that worries me is that Chelsea played on Sunday, and now they have a game on Wednesday. So I do think it's going to be anticlimactic, and it's going to be a draw. At least I'm hoping for a draw, because if we have a draw, then Wolverhampton is in a bag.
You think 0-0, or you think there'll be goals?
I think there'll be goals. I think it's going to be 1-1. And I just think that Chelsea, that Chelsea defense is so full of holes, but I'm hoping they can string it together and prevent Sadio Mane and freaking Salah from doing anything. I mean, they scored the most incredible goals against Chelsea. They just and it drives me nuts. It absolutely drives me nuts. So, but the good thing is, I do think Mason Mount, who is by far the most underrated Chelsea player, I think he will play a key factor in the game, and I'm really hoping that he'll be able to maintain a high press and put some pressure on the defense. I don't think Joe Gomez is nearly as good as people make him out to be. So I really hope that he puts some pressure on him and manages to get them to make some errors.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think 1-1 is going to be the scoreline, and I really hope it's my birthday on Wednesday. If I have one wish, that's for Chelsea to actually win.
Chelsea will win now.
At that point, we're in. We're regardless of what happens with United and Leicester, we're in.
What about you, Steve-O? Predictions?
Oh man, I don't even want to try and predict anything because I think Liverpool 2-0.
2-0 Liverpool.
Yeah.
Yeah. The thing is, this is really a game that could go either way.
Yeah.
It could be a blowout. It could be the most boring game, or it could be like a Chelsea masterpiece. And I've got it in me. I don't know why. I think Chelsea will win. And for some reason, I think they're going to win comfortably. Because when Van Dijk gets in his head, he turns into Kurt Zuma. So
he's starting for us. Playing field.
If Chelsea can get the first goal, I think Chelsea will win. And I think they'll win 2 or 3-0.
Wow.
I think it's going to be. I'm really excited. I think it's going to be a good battle. Giroud is playing really well, and him going against Virgil van Dijk, both strong physical players. It'll be a good matchup. So I'm really excited, and I hope Reece James gets a starting role, but I think Lampard is going to play 3 in the back against Liverpool, just like he did in the Carabao Cup, and it worked for him there. So I think it's going to be 3-5-2 the lineup. So
yeah, you gotta load at the midfield to win against Liverpool. That's when they lost. It was like 3 games in a row. They lost against Atletico twice and Watford. People were basically playing like a 3-6-1 against them, and that's how they got beat. Like just stack that midfield. But Klopp's had a lot of time since then now to figure out how to beat that. So who knows if that'll work again.
Well, yeah, especially without Henderson. Like I'm sure he will change it up, and I think it's going to be a difficult decision to figure out. It'll be difficult to figure out what's Klopp going to do, and I'm excited. But the other big game is United West Ham, and I just have a feeling West Ham is going to give United shit, and it's going to end in a draw. That's what I think.
Oh yeah, I mean they definitely are because they're 16th right now. So I mean I would say that they're relatively safe. I really don't see Aston Villa. Well, if Aston Villa wins 2 games, they're tied on points, but I don't see Aston Villa winning their next 2 games. But at least the way West Ham has been playing, they've been playing really well, and the way we Man United have been playing, all the games they've been playing, we've always started out slow. If we start out slow again, we're going to have such trouble winning that game. And West Ham is going to be full of confidence, and they're also fighting to make sure that they're not anywhere near the bottom of the table. So that's not good for us. And then they're really not like, I mean, they're not like a Burnley scrappy, but they are a kind of scrappy, which is never fun to play against.
Declan Rice versus Bruno Fernandes is going to be pretty exciting, I think, to watch, because I'm just curious how they're going to approach it. Granted, I think United does have an upper hand, but it's going to depend on Solskjaer and what he does. Is he going to play the same lineup that played against Chelsea, minus James on the right? I mean, I'm just curious at how he's going to approach it, because I can tell you the United lineup is looking really tired. And this is going to be their 3rd game in 6 days since last Thursday. So they play Tuesday, Sunday, and then Wednesday. And I think, you're going to be exhausted.
Oh yeah, we're not you think. You already know we are exhausted. I mean, like Greenwood, the game against what was it? What was it Palace? Greenwood just looked just not lost, but he didn't have that same just like fire that he's had. Like
Yeah.
I mean, the way Greenwood, like when it restarted, Greenwood in the box, like if you saw him with the ball in the box, he knew he was going to shoot. And when it was in the box, it was just like almost like a second or 2 seconds just away from everything they need to do. So there's definitely that factor. I mean, hopefully the loss to Chelsea just be like a wake up call to say, hey, we have 2 more games, let's finish it out. Hopefully, I mean, and then James hasn't really done anything this whole just team not been back. Granted, he hasn't got any minutes, but maybe this is the one game where he actually just is able to do something. But um, I don't know. I guess it's just I don't know. Like I still think we find a way to win the game because what has been happening with the games we have won, we've started out slowly, but we've been able to power through and find a way somehow to score. It's just that we need to make sure that the one thing we need to clean up is make sure teams aren't scoring against us. Then we have to come back because it's like been 2 games now where we just started out really slowly. Teams scored against us within the first 20. It was like what Southampton scored against us. Then we came back and won. Then I forget who else it was. They scored against us first, then we came back and won. But it's like so there's I think it was Bournemouth scored against us first, then we came back and won 5-2. But that's before we were tired. Now we're
Yeah.
tired, but we're still and then we tied against Southampton and then got worked by Chelsea. Yeesh.
You see,
But
Man United, man, the thing about them is their attack is outscoring their defensive mistakes.
oh yeah, absolutely.
So that's one thing that United have just on point right now is their attack are firing on all cylinders, but they will be tired. And West Ham are a team that likes to get stuck in.
Yeah.
And I think if you can keep Antonio quiet, you should be okay because they don't really have much else in the goal scoring kind of category. I don't know like Felipe Anderson, I don't know if he's going to play or not. He's a danger man. But if you can keep Antonio quiet, which is easier said than done, I think it'll be a United win. And I think it'll be a hard game, but I think United will come and win 2-0.
I'm actually predicting that they're going to lose. I think they're going to lose 2-1. I think this kind of reminds me of that, when Spurs were in a hot streak and then they lost a game, or Man City was in a hot streak and they lost a game, then they lost 2 other games. And we've seen it happen with all the big teams this season. It happened with Liverpool. They lost their first game in Premier League in God knows how many games, and they got eliminated from Champions League. We've seen it happen with City early on in the season. We've seen it happen with Spurs. We've seen it happen with Chelsea. I think this is the form is kind of slipping, and it doesn't help that you're tired and have only 2 days between games. So I definitely think 2-1. That's my prediction.
So
That's what I'm hoping.
in my doubting mind, I'm thinking 1-1. But I will still because there's no way our defense doesn't let in at least one goal. That's just like defense might play well, but De Gea will probably like let one slip in.
Throw it in or something.
Talk about that.
Yeah, but I think either I want to say 2-1 Man United, but I'm almost just like realistically it probably will end up being 1-1. I think it'll probably end up being a tie, and then it's just like all just down to the wire.
Yeah, I mean, De Gea's flapping at everything.
So I think the first goal, it surprised him. I think the third goal against Chelsea, it surprised him. The second goal, yeah, he should have saved it. But like that ball was moving away from him. It had like a weird spin and a bounce, and that's no excuse. He should stop it. But then he
got
made
strong wrists.
But then he made those 2 awesome saves that most of the other keepers were going to get let in. It's like, yeah, he lets in easy goals, but he's been carrying that United team for the past 5 years.
This is true.
And I think the fact that sure he made those silly mistakes, but let's be honest. No, that first off, what was that guy's name that lost the ball? Tried to play it across the field straight to the midfield. That's a 101. You don't do that. Williams, nobody was stepping onto Mason Mount. Like, I don't know what Harry Maguire was doing, like trying to step in. It's like we can blame De Gea for letting that shot in, but that shot should have never actually got past the defense. It's like I said, especially Chelsea outside the box shot, never happens. So De Gea probably didn't expect it until it was too late. He was like, "Oh shit, Chelsea is shooting from outside the box," and by that point, it was too late. But he did have those two awesome saves.
And that's what's frustrating because you know the quality that he is. I mean, before it was like what, Smalling and Lindelof, and he was like facing so many shots and he was saving them. Like, it was just like our defense wasn't great, but De Gea was making saves and keeping us where we were. And there was like a lot of appreciation for him. Then this season, just like he's still making saves, but then he's just like letting these just weird random shots in, which doesn't make any sense. But also, what I don't understand though is that the FA Cup has been Sergio Romero's competition. The way it's always been is that De Gea starts Premier League, FA Cup is Sergio Romero. No, like that's how it's always been. So I'm really not sure why Solskjaer started him in the FA Cup. I'm not sure how Romero feels about that because it's like that's been his competition. Like that's what, like, has this just been like some kind of, I don't even know if it's contract or something, or just like some agreement, like Romero, FA Cup, got it. De Gea, Premier League. So I don't know why he started that. Maybe Solskjaer wanted him to get him in there, just like work on just like getting confidence back in, just like make some saves or something to prepare him for the last two games. But yeah, I don't know why he started that game. Romero should have started. I don't know if Romero would have made all those saves. Maybe not, but he shouldn't have even been that match.
Yeah, he would have made. I think Romero would have saved the second goal.
Yeah.
I don't think there was much to do about the first goal. I think it just came unexpected and hit his. I mean, it was just a good placement.
Oh yeah.
He couldn't get down fast enough for that, and I mean, it hit his wrist, but I don't think he got the whole palm. And I can't blame him for that first goal, but I do think the second goal was his fault. But then again, it's like if we're gonna point fingers, the whole defense did not stop the shot. And it was basically Mason Mount running against three people on the defense.
I'm just backing up.
Yeah. And I mean, Maguire was awful that entire game, which, like I said, I don't know if it was a head injuries or what, but you're going to have a hard time against, West Ham. I think De Gea is still one of the best goalkeepers in the Premier League. Yeah, he's been getting a lot of flack and he's been letting in some of those easy shots, but he's also been making some incredible saves. He kind of reminds me of Hugo Lloris. Like Lloris, the stop that he had, what was it, today or yesterday?
Yesterday.
Yesterday.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Oh, my God. De Gea is just like that. And you can just count on him making a mistake every now and then, but more often than not, he won't.
Yeah, I don't want to make excuses for United losing, but when one of your teammates gets injured the way that Bailly did, and I mean, I hope he's okay, but Bailly got taken off in a full stretcher. He couldn't move his body. Sources said that he couldn't stand up in the dressing room. So that does affect you because earlier in the season, Hugo Lloris dislocated his shoulder or elbow against Brighton.
That was wild.
And now our whole team turned off and we lost 3-0 to Brighton. And it was like an immediate switch. Like, Lloris gets injured, the team just stopped playing. And it's like getting the win is not as important as it was. So I don't want to make excuses, but I can definitely let them off a little bit for losing because of the extent of how Bailly left the pitch.
I'm sure he plays on a psyche and morale,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. At the end of the day, I think De Gea, like, there's always a question. What do you do? Do you get rid of De Gea? Do you bring in, what's his name?
Henderson.
And, and I think you get rid of De Gea because Henderson has higher potential and he's doing really well for Sheffield. But at the same time, though, you don't get rid of De Gea because he's been making some of these errors. I think you get rid of De Gea because of strategic, tactical decision to keep the youngster that probably wants to play some, first team football.
Oh, he definitely does. I mean, he's made that well known. If I was playing FIFA, De Gea would be gone by now. but it's not FIFA. So
if I was in charge, I'd sell him for 100 million.
But yeah. I'm sure it'll be hard because who's going to buy him when he has wages that high? Isn't he like 300,000 per week?
Oh no, he's really high because Sanchez was getting paid so much money. Then De Gea's like, oh, I should be getting paid so much money because the team's on my back, which I can't even argue against. He did put the team on he put the defense on his back. And he's like, hey, this dude over here who's playing like absolute garbage is getting paid just like out the wazoo. Why am I not getting paid that much? It's like, oh, well, you make a good point, I guess. Yeah. Like, so I'm not mad at him for that. Like, why would he not do that? Like, but yeah, now it's like, okay, I wasn't even thinking, I hadn't even thought about the wages. I think so. Henderson's playing at Sheffield, right? It's almost like when you're playing with people. So Sheffield isn't at Man United's level. I'll put it out there. I mean, they're good. They're not horrible, but when you're playing with like a team that's not like, I'm not saying like Man United is like the most amazing team out there because we're not like playing like that. But when you're playing on Sheffield, it's easier to stand out when the quality isn't as high. So I don't know, like, is Henderson actually ready to be the Man United starter? I think he would eventually come good, but I wouldn't say he's as good as De Gea. So it's almost like there'll be a bit of a lag period if you're to replace De Gea with Henderson, or just a bit of frustration with Henderson growing to that role as a Man United number one. But is it worth it? I mean, might be, because just I don't know. It's a tough decision to make. I really don't know what the best decision is there.
Yeah, I don't think they'll get rid of him. He's cemented his place in the team. I know a lot of fans will say, bring in Henderson. I mean, he's already signed a new 1-year loan extension with Sheffield. So I think he'll stay at Sheffield another year. He's a fantastic keeper. And I think that's probably the best for him. Stay at Sheffield. And then after Sheffield, if he has another good year, United will bring him in probably. And that's
have to bring in him. Like, if we don't bring in him next year, then Woodward, I don't know, man. Like, I have so many words for Woodward, but yeah, after next year, he has to be in the United lineup. There's just no way around it. Like, and also the thing with De Gea too is like he really doesn't have competition for his position.
That's why you bring Henderson back. That's exactly what I was going to say. You bring Henderson back, and you'll actually make De Gea compete for his role, which will maybe eliminate the small errors, small mistakes that he's making.
The only problem is, though, Henderson does not want to play number 2. Henderson wants to be starting, which I don't blame him. But he wants to be starting. He doesn't want to play. He doesn't want to play second fiddle.
I don't blame him. But I think if he's given equal opportunity to prove himself in games, I think I would be really, really curious to find out how it's going. And more than anything, you have Harry Maguire, Aaron Bissaka, you have Luke Shaw. I don't know how David De Gea's English is, but I'm certain Henderson might be able to communicate with them better and organize the back line a little better. So I say you bring Henderson back and you actually give them both an equal opportunity.
Wait, are you serious? Are you trying to have a holy? Did you really go down that road, Brato?
You need competition.
The English route. You really going down that road?
Absolutely. I can't remember who it was that it was Chelsea. It was Kepa. I was reading that one of the issues is that Kepa does not speak English very well. So he communicates in English with English defender, which is broken. Then he communicates in Spanish with Spanish defenders, which is Azpilicueta and
Alonso.
So I think, there might be some disconnect there. And once again, David De Gea might speak perfect English.
He probably does. He's been in Man United for years.
Yeah,
like Kepa is just a second season. Is it second or third season?
And he speaks no English at all. He's been there for a long time. What, 2013, 2012?
Man, it's been a while.
Maybe even earlier than that. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe even earlier than that.
Even in that documentary, he spoke Spanish. He refused to speak English. So, I mean, I don't know. I could be completely off about the English, but at the same time, though, the competition will be good for De Gea. It'll be good for Henderson. Henderson doesn't have any competition right now.
True. Yeah. We've spoken a lot about teams at the top of the table. Why don't we speak a little bit about the relegation battle? Because it's kind of hotting up. And I know that for some reason, the three of us like Bournemouth, and I really don't want Bournemouth to get relegated. I just don't see it happening though. I think that Watford will somehow. Who have Watford got? Watford.
Well, they just fired their coach, didn't they?
Yeah, and Watford have got Arsenal at the weekend.
Oh, they're done.
They got City and Arsenal coming up, but they are 3 points ahead, and I think that's their saving grace. And they will be safe based on the goal difference because they have negative 23 goal difference compared to Bournemouth 27. So it would have to be that Man City and Arsenal basically bang 5-6 goals in, and Bournemouth manages to win by 1 goal for them to not be relegated. So I think Aston Villa and Bournemouth are both out.
Yeah.
Man City scored 5 goals in the first half against Watford last season, and Man City just got beat. So Pep is like slapping them around the dressing room. So I expect them to come back and just destroy Watford. So I do think Watford could lose 6 or 7-0 to City because I think City are that good. But I do agree. I agree that Villa and Bournemouth are probably going to go down as well. As much as I hate to admit it.
Yeah, I think Villa has probably the best chance just because they are playing West Ham their last game. So that might give them a bit of an edge. But at the same time, though, I sadly think Eddie Howe is going back to championship, and I hate that because I love him. I don't know why. I just do.
Yeah, I think for sure Bournemouth are definitely going down. I don't see how they stay up. But yeah, Villa and Watford, that'll be interesting to see. Both of them have 2 games left. It's just 3 points, and yeah, that's where the bit of excitement is with relegation for me.
But it's close.
It is close.
It is. And I like, once again, Bournemouth managed to beat. Who did they beat 4-1?
That was recently, right?
Yeah, it was just there.
It was Leicester City. It was Leicester City.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Soyuncu got sent off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they can win for sure. And I think there still might be some saving grace for them if they manage to beat Arsenal or whoever they play. So.
Well, no, Bournemouth's last game is against Everton.
Oh yeah, that's right. So they actually have a pretty good chance because I don't think Everton is going to go on a scoring spree against them. If they play like they did against Leicester and like they did, who else did they play recently that they actually put in a good performance? Man City. They lost to Man City only 2-1, and they actually had Man City on a back foot. So if they play like that against Everton, there might be a chance for them to save themselves.
Weren't they unlucky not to beat Tottenham? Because like Tottenham had 0 shots on goal against Bournemouth, and Bournemouth had like 1 disallowed goal, didn't they, or something like that?
Yeah, they did at the end. It was disallowed, but Bournemouth just lost to Southampton 2-0.
Yeah.
And Bournemouth were at home. They're going and playing Everton away from home. That is a long trip. Like Everton to Bournemouth is like opposite ends of the UK. So they're going to have to go there a couple of days early, maybe, or maybe the day early. They'll be tired, a lot of traveling. And Everton are going to want to bring it. So I hate to say it, but I do think Bournemouth and Aston Villa are going down with Norwich.
Yeah,
so so I agree with you. I think Bournemouth are going down, but I wouldn't go off their form. Well, I wouldn't consider the Southampton game because Southampton has been scoring goals. Like they have been scoring, but just Bournemouth is at a disadvantage because they only have 1 match left and they're behind. So the other teams have 2, like Aston Villa and wait, what's the other team? Shoot. Watford.
They have games in hand. Yeah.
Yeah, they both have a game in hand. So it's just like, okay, if they don't do well enough in the first game or whatever, they can, one final push. Bournemouth can put in a big push, but it wouldn't be enough if the other 2 teams are able to put in a big push because they have 2 games to do that. So they're at a huge disadvantage with
I mean,
they don't have enough games to do it.
They have similar fixtures. So tomorrow, Watford play Man City, and then Villa play Arsenal. And then at the weekend, Villa have got West Ham away, which is always a tough game.
Yeah.
And obviously, Watford have got Arsenal away.
And I think Watford will beat Arsenal. And I think that's
what?
Yeah, I think Watford is going to beat Arsenal
at the Emirates.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter home or away. With COVID, it really doesn't matter.
Yeah. The only thing like matters is
don't play
Thomas.
Yeah, the fans don't play much of an impact.
I'll say, yeah, the only thing that matters right now is like Tom said, travel. Like if you have a long trip, but I mean that maybe. I mean the way they travel now, it's like super comfortable. But
yeah, I think Watford will beat. Troy Deeney loves going against Arsenal's defense, and I think what was it 2 years ago that he said that they just did not have heart, or he embarrassed them. He said they were not even worth playing. They were like worse off.
Didn't he say they don't have the bollocks to play or something like that?
Yeah, something like that. I think Watford is going to come at it hard, but the managerial change does worry me, and I think that depending on how their game goes tomorrow, get blown out of the water, it'll be challenging. I don't think they'll stand a chance to beat Arsenal at that point.
Yeah, I think so.
How about that first impression? I'm really, really excited for next season. I know we're running out of time, but man, I am so excited, especially if you sign Kai Havertz. I think he will be that creative piece that we need. And with Mason Mount being the bulldog and chasing everything down, I think we're going to have stacked midfield. I kind of worry that we're going to have to get rid of some players like Ruben Loftus-Cheek, who I absolutely love.
I think so too. I think if you bring Havertz in, there's no place for players like Loftus-Cheek. There's no place for him.
But wait, what's more important to Chelsea right now? Bringing in another midfielder or get another striker, though?
Well, they got Werner.
I think midfielder, purely because we don't have anyone to create. If we had a player like Bruno Fernandes, it would be so good. If we had someone that can play that number 10 role, that's going to be able to distribute the balls and create chances, I think we would be significantly better. Most of our chance creation comes from the sides, and to have someone create chances from middle, it just opens up so much for Chelsea. And as much as I love Ruben Loftus-Cheek, and as much as I love Conte, and I even like Jorginho, if I'm being honest, they don't get the job done. And Ruben Loftus-Cheek might be able to, but having that torn Achilles really pushed him. I mean, he pulled him back a year. So I think he's a year behind development at this point. And he was so good last year.
It's a shame. I like Loftus-Cheek a lot.
Yeah. See, the one thing I don't get, so Havertz, so I looked at, so you guys know Fabrizio Romano?
Yeah.
He's like, so he said that Havertz has already told Leverkusen that he's ready to leave this summer, and that Chelsea board contacted like Havertz agents or whatever, said, hey, he would like Chelsea's next step. And, also Timo Werner is there too. So like he'd be pushing him to join, but I'm just trying to understand why Chelsea haven't yet made that official bid, especially with like who Chelsea signed, Ziyech, Timo Werner. There was another person, right, that they signed? Isn't they signed 3 people now?
Yeah. Hakim Ziyech.
Yeah. Is it just 2? Ziyech and Werner? Okay. So I'm surprised why Abramovich hasn't been like, yeah, let's go ahead and get him right now. So everything right now is pointing to Havertz is going to go to Chelsea. Just Chelsea haven't just put in that bid for him, even though they said, yeah, I'm ready to leave Leverkusen and I would like to join.
I just read today that they agreed personal terms. They're basically close to agreeing personal terms.
Yeah.
They got the salary down. They're just waiting on bonuses and so on. And I think once that's taken care of, which seems kind of like odd and fishy way for me to do business, in my opinion. But I think once that's done, they're going to make the official bid. And they also want to lower the bid, because if he wants to leave and he announces he wants to leave and puts in a transfer request, his value goes down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the report I'm reading now says Kai Havertz's transfer to Chelsea is pretty much done. They've agreed personal terms. They've agreed the agent fees. I just think the stage is set for Chelsea now to make their final bid to Leverkusen, and then he'll come over for a medical. And
in the meantime, Tottenham is signing 15-year-olds from Wigan Athletic.
From Wigan, I know, right? Premier League champions next year. It drives me crazy. Again, we can talk about Daniel Levy in a whole new episode. That man just... I mean, we were this close to signing Paulo Dybala last year. Dybala agreed to come to the club. The fees and everything, the only thing that wasn't agreed was the image rights. Why, if you're the Tottenham boss, knowing that Dybala wanted to come, why wouldn't you then be like, okay, we'll work out everything we need to do and we'll bring you here in January? Like, the player wanted to. Everything was done. I just don't get it. I think that's poor management, because Dybala is that player that can come in and change the team. Exactly how we're talking about Havertz coming in and changing Chelsea, which I really believe he will. Dybala would have done that for Spurs.
Yeah, I'm starting to get scared of Chelsea next year, because, I mean, they weren't able to sign anybody for 2 years, wasn't it? And they're in third with a new coach whose only experience was coaching Derby County. Got to third with, I don't want to say a makeshift team, but I mean, not a fully complete team.
Young team.
Yeah, young team. I mean, you got some agent there. You got Spilicueta. You got Marcos Alonso, Giroud in there. You know, Kante. But yeah, but also a lot of important positions have young people in them, and then now what Chelsea's getting right now is depth, not necessarily starters, but depth. And if you're going to go deep into just Premier League, Champions League, and other competitions, you have to have depth, and that's what they're getting right now, which is just kind of scary. I do not like that at all.
Yeah, I think Ruben lost his cheek. I hope they don't sell him. I hope they keep him and let him fight for his place. I think he might be able to displace Kovacic. As much as I like Kovacic, that's probably the person that he can displace the earliest. Mason Mount, I'm certain he's Frank Lampard's legitimate son, so he's not going anywhere. But yeah, I think that Mason Mount he's one of the best midfielders this year for me. I know that's saying a lot, considering you have Bruno Fernandes, you have James Maddison, you have Jack Grealish, but I think what we were discussing earlier is one of those statistically proven midfielders. He's been carrying that team, and I think they lost most of the games that he doesn't start. The majority of them they lost, if not all of them. Mm-hmm. So he's just been an integral part of that team, and he just hustles. He hustles and he plays defense, and I love that man. I'm not embarrassed to say it.
I mean, that statement is a great way to end this week's podcast.
Yeah, it really
loves Mason Mount.
Oh, man.
I actually got an autographed picture of him that I want to hang up. I think once we get this going, once I get that room going.
Well, you'll get some of his hairs in a picture frame or something.
Not gonna lie, I may kiss it before I go to bed every
night. Can that be the intro?
Prato is gonna kiss Mason Mount's framed hair.
I had a big fan of the chin hair, but I'm a huge fan of his. I think I love Ruben Loftus-Cheek, and I love the fact that we're letting finally our youngsters come in, and we have never really done that. So this band is probably the best thing that happened in Chelsea, in my opinion, because we have such a good we have so many talented players that we don't utilize. They're never given an opportunity. They're just discarded. I feel like a freaking factory that's just there to get the talent going and make money off them, and that's it. I hate that. So
yeah, I agree.
I'm hoping that we'll sell you Tom. We'll sell you Ross Barkley. He's talented.
Nah, you can probably just waste away, then go to Everton for like 20 mil.
Yeah.
Wait, what happened? What happened to Danny Drinkwater? Is he still there?
He's at Burnley.
Yeah. Oh,
He's not even playing at Burnley.
Dude, he just shot all the way up and just dropped right back down. That was
he was
Chelsea bought it because they needed to meet the quota for English players, I think, and that's why they splashed the cash for him. I don't. Yeah, he's never really. They gave him a chance, obviously, but I don't think he ever impressed from day one.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to us, guys. We are a new podcast, so we're just learning the ropes and doing what we love to do, which is talk smack about each other's teams and and follow the results. So on that note, we'll see you next week, and we'll have the final results in the Premier League 1920 season. Have a good one, guys.
Bye.